The Mafia, and not the Hollywood version. This is the real-life mob. Gambling, racketeering, extortion, murder.
I lost people that I cared about.
If you're foolish enough to cross the family, expect to be whacked by the most ruthless of wise guys in the most vicious and cold-blooded of ways. The violent killer, Gregory Scarpa Sr., aka the Grim Reaper.
If you do something wrong, you're ultimately gonna get killed.
Scarpa was the chief enforcer and most feared executioner for the Colombo crime family, one of 5 mafia families that has dominated organized crime in New York City for decades. Scarpa claimed to have stopped counting at his 50th murder. Reportedly, he killed on orders for revenge and for sport. Out in the world, or the underworld, Scarpa was ruthless, but at home, his daughter Linda Scarpa says he was a loving, dedicated father.
He was a really good family man, just a regular dad. He liked to cook a lot, and he enjoyed watching television with us, Family Feud and
Wheel of Fortune.
Wheel of Fortune. He just was a lot of fun like that.
Linda grew up in Brooklyn with her dad, her mom Linda, known as Big Linda, and little brother Joey.
Life at home was pretty normal.
Yeah, I mean, it was normal for us.
But as she describes in her new book, The Mafia Hitman's Daughter, Linda noticed at a young age her dad and his friends weren't like other dads.
Just the way they spoke, the way they dressed, the way their personalities were. They were very charismatic, just different. He always had money in his pocket.
What kinds of gifts did your dad buy you as a child?
Well, I remember I had a fur coat. I was about 6 years old. I had a lot of diamonds, you know. I wanted toys.
Growing up, Linda was the ultimate daddy's girl.
He was my go-to guy, you know, for everything. And I was able to talk to him on a level where most daughters really don't talk to their dads like that.
But Scarpa didn't share as much with Linda as Linda shared with him.
There were a lot of secrets.
There's a lot of secrets.
Especially the darkest ones, like the level of violence her sweet father was capable of.
One day, you are going to school, and there's a car service that picks you up. What happened?
Well, we had the same driver all the time, you know, every day. So this one particular day, my brother was absent, and I had gotten into the car alone. He said that I could sit in the front.
The driver made a detour, driving to an isolated part of Brooklyn's Prospect Park.
He became aggressive and was explaining to me what he was going to do to me. He was going to rape me. There was no doubt. I told him that he didn't have to do this, that he could pick me up after school and we could disappear for the rest of the day. And it worked. He believed me.
When an extremely frightened Linda told her parents what the driver had done,
my father went crazy. I mean, he went absolutely crazy. My father said he was going to take care of it. So he went and he beat the guy up.
But Linda told her dad she was still afraid the driver would come for her.
So he went back and he killed him. And then when he came home, he told me that I never had to worry about that guy again.
You didn't want him to die.
I didn't think that was going to happen, but with a father like mine, the result is you're going to die.
A few years later, a medical diagnosis would change Scarpa, causing him to become even more vicious. While Scarpa was in the hospital for surgery, one of his mob brothers donated blood, but it was tainted, and Scarpa contracted the HIV virus and later AIDS. He would now live his life with zero fear, as someone who was going to die either by a bullet or by a disease.
He was so unpredictable and he was scary.
5 years later, when Scarpa found himself in the middle of a war, the Colombo family war, it was game on. During this time, Scarpa got the nickname the Grim Reaper.
He was relentless in killing. He was the one who was going to bring you to death, just like the Grim Reaper takes you to the other side. He's taking you there.
And Scarpa now was openly bragging about it, like the time he killed a rival mobster, Nicky Black.
My father was out hunting for people, and he ran into Nicky Black and shot him in the face. Came home excited. You know, you had to see what I just did. I just shot his nose right off his face. And me and my brother are sitting there like our stomachs are in pain. It was traumatizing. That's the kind of stuff that he never would have really brought home. But because he wasn't in his right frame of mind.
Linda claims the AIDS virus caused her dad to develop dementia, and that's when she started to fear her Mafia father.
His doctors had told my mother that we had to be very careful about what we said to him, that he could, you know, snap on us and not realize it. You had to really watch what you said. He would just explode.
But Scarpa wasn't the only one capable of exploding, and he was about to find himself on the wrong end of the enemy's gun. It was a cold November day when Scarpa, Linda, and her 9-month-old son were leaving the house together.
You're walking down the stairs.
My father actually kissed me goodbye, and he got into his car. I got into my car.
Linda says as she drove off, she unintentionally pulled out in front of a white van. What she didn't know was there were 5 men in that van with a plan to kill her father.
This big white truck blocks the whole street at the corner, and they all jump out of the van, and there's just guys all around shooting at my father's car. All you heard was pop, pop, pop.
And where's your son?
He's in the car seat, right next to me.
They're shooting at your car. You don't know who's dead and who's alive.
I didn't even know if my father was dead. It looked like he was hit because he kind of went down.
Amazingly, Scarpa managed to get away. Linda told her mother what had happened.
And all of a sudden, he walked in the door and he looked at us and he had like tears in his eyes and he broke down. But then I actually seen him transform. His eyes turned from a loving, scared dad to vicious psycho. That day was the end of it. He completely lost it. There was no returning after that.
The killing continued, even escalated. But Scarpa was a hitman with 9 mob lives. And his biggest secret, one that would have gotten him a bullet to the back of the head had it gotten out, was that for 30 years, he had been an FBI informant.
In the street life, he is considered a rat.
Yeah.
An informant.
But I know that no one's in prison because of him. He really didn't give them a lot of information. Basically, they were giving him information.
Scarpa likened himself to James Bond.
I would be like, what? What do you mean, Dad? You're not an agent. He's like, oh, you don't know your father. You don't know your father. And I never knew what he meant.
It was Scarpa's world. Everyone else was just living in it. Many say Scarpa was able to live the double life for so long because he was protected by the feds. If that was true, that protection wouldn't last forever. Scarpa was eventually indicted on federal racketeering charges involving 3 murders. He pled guilty to those murders and conspiracy to murder several others. He was sentenced to life in prison, which was later reduced to 10 years because of his poor health.
Did you have a relationship with him behind bars?
I'll be honest, I couldn't really see him in there. Seeing my father in prison sick and having to leave him there was something that would have literally destroyed me.
7 months later, Gregory Scarpa Sr. died in federal prison.
You see that squirrel right there looking at me? That's my father letting me know he's here. You know how? He used to feed a squirrel every day.
Now Linda lives with the painful loss and the reconciling of her father's many faces and mobster life.
Yes, he was this person that went out and committed horrific crimes, but he also was my father. I miss him and I love him with all my heart.
In 1995, Linda's brother, Joey Scarpa, was murdered execution style. Some say it was a drug deal gone bad. Others say it was payback for his dad being an FBI informant. As for Linda, she is now a divorced mother of 4 children. At one point, her dad offered to kill her husband. Linda said No, thank you.